Well. Look at all the news that's coming out. Gaza, Israel, Iran, and we had the vice president debate yesterday. And to top it all off, this should also make the news, is that a viewer wrote in, went to Sam's yesterday, 20 people in line to get toilet paper and paper towels. Both are made in the USA and not shipped in to the East Coast ports. Crazy people. And this is what's going on, folks. This is what's going on. People have a fear. People think about something, then they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be devastating for me because I need to use toilet paper. And then they go out and buy it without doing one simple Google search. So for all of you guys that are thinking about buying it, let me save you the time. I did the Google search for you, so you don't have to. The material for most toilet paper comes from trees primarily sourced from North American forests in countries like Canada and the United States. Oh, so you just bought this toilet paper hoping that you're gonna help the US economy? You think that toilet paper was shipped in from Europe or China? I don't know. But let's look at some of these other things that this viewer wrote in, because just doesn't add up all. Doesn't add up. So I did buy a lot more coffee, which is shipped from the East Coast port since it comes from South Africa. So when you're looking at shipping routes, they can offload wherever. They can offload in LA, they can offload in Portland, they can offload in Washington, because there's a bunch of different canals that they can go through and just offload in another one. And now, don't tell me that you're gonna have issues with offloading in another place, because you can go through the Panama Canals. So now you're like, but all these ports are already at the capacity. No, they're not. Port of Los Angeles is currently at or better than pre-COVID level and is ready to increase capacity on demand. The port has automated terminals that use artificial intelligence and digital technology to spend up cargo handling and expand terminal capacity. Oh, so what do? You reroute the ship. That's it. So what you do, you call up the port from Los Angeles or LA, Long Beach, and say, we're going to offload there. You just reroute, and you just call the truck drivers and say, hey, instead of coming in from Florida, sorry, stuff in Florida might get more expensive because you need to now truck it from the West Coast to the East Coast. But hey, not a lot of shortages. And I did some digging actually, and I went down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what these companies are going to be doing to come up with the materials because they can't get them in. And surprisingly, few and a few articles actually said that these company leaders are looking at sourcing their products and making up their shortfall from suppliers from in the United States. So now I'm like, oh, that's actually a good thing, right? When we're going to start building, so we're not going to ship stuff from overseas, we're going to start manufacturing it in the United States, because some of these shipping companies and offloading companies have a chokehold on the economy. So we're going to start using manufacturing in the United States to give Americans jobs. When you're going to sell stuff in the United States, kind of makes sense to me, right? And now, unions that have a chokehold on the economy. So let's go over what is going on. So this is my biggest problems with unions. And I'm not attacking the concept, I'm not attacking the union workers. And I kind of like the idea of the union. I kind of like the idea, but I don't really like how they're implemented. Because let's look at, who is Harold Daggett, the union boss behind the port strikes, who makes over $900K a year and once fought mafia link allegations. Is this who you voted for? Is this what you think is right? It's just, for me, it's always like politics. When you vote and you do stuff, you always, always, always work for the company. It doesn't matter if you're getting paid by the employees and say, oh my gosh, we work for the people. You don't work for the people, you work for the company, because the company is up here paying the workers, and the workers are then paying the dues for the union reps. And don't you think that the president of the companies and the union rep have a good relationship and chat and do stuff? You don't think so? How do you make $900,000 a year then? And there's been allegation about federal indictments with this guy. I don't know him. I don't know if any of this is true, but wouldn't surprise me if it was, because all this stuff is like, and don't tell me that this is a one-off. This is probably the rule, not the exception, right? So, but I'm looking at it like, yeah, I'm for higher wages, I'm for job security, and I'm for all of these things, but automation still needs to happen, because that is what innovates. That is what's going to bring us into the future. And when you're looking at jobs that were here in the United States a few decades ago aren't here no more, because they're just not relevant anymore. And if you don't believe me, here's the list. And these jobs that were in the United States because they were just necessary back then aren't necessary now. So stop worrying about it and just get retrained, get reskilled, and find something that pays the bills. It's what everybody has to do. You can't just say, hey, I'm a shoreman. So you can't just say, hey, I need bigger pay. And I think they want 70% over the next five to 7 years, 70% increase in salary over that, because their parent company made so much profit. And I'm looking at it like, well, that is a drop in a bucket. If you look at Amazon, if you're looking at all these Google, if you're looking at Apple, if you're looking at Microsoft, that's a drop in the bucket. And we're not going after these people and say we should unionize and start fighting everything. No, it's you should negotiate your own contract in an ideal world, right? You should negotiate your own contract, get paid what you're worth, and then you go home at the end of the day and you do your hobbies and do your stuff. But now we're living in a world where everything is so polarized. Everything is like absolutely polarized. And we just gotta figure out how to move on, because ports are automated, and that is the future, if you like it or not. AI is coming, artificial intelligence, at a slow speed, or whatever you want to call it. You don't want to call it AI, you call it computer programming, or software engineering is coming to your place of work near you, right? And yeah, it might be that it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some figuring out to do, and you're not going to be the last one that's going to get automated. You're looking at, I remember a few months ago or a year ago, it was all these writers that were striking in Hollywood because AI can do it. And now I just saw somebody have an AI podcast where you basically just type in the topics and two people talk about a topic on a podcast with faces, so you don't even need to actually have your own podcast. So automation and software is coming, if you like it or not. And I'm sorry if you're in that predicament where you're like, I need this job. Yeah, you do, and so does everybody else. But you gotta find something that fits 2025, 2030, 2040. And I know there's been all these layoffs, and people say, you want that for the economy. You want jobs for the US, but then you're like on AI, and you like the automations. And I say, I like the automation for the United States. I like the automation part because we need to stay on top of our game. If we're gonna fall down, if we're gonna stop innovating and say, hey, we're good, other countries are not gonna do that. They're gonna take that as a sign of weakness, and they're gonna start outdoing us. And then all of a sudden, we're gonna be last ones in line, and we need to be the innovators. What I want us to do is to develop these tools and then sell it to other countries. and then say, hey, we got these great tools. Do you want to buy them? And that's how globalization works. But when we're going to be like, let's just do everything manually and be inefficient, then other countries are going to be like, nah. And then at one point, somebody else is going to build another port with all automation, and then you're going to be out of business anyways. So it's just a matter of time till you're going to be out of business. It might not be now, but it might be in 5 to 10, 20 years. And when you construct new ports, it's going to take some time. And you might not get the permits, but if there's going to be enough demand, the cost is going to pay out. And I know people are going to be like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so bad for all of us if we're going to lose jobs again. We've been losing jobs forever, and I hate it, and I absolutely hate it. But what we need to do is get these people that are making money, spend the money in the United States and sell it to other countries and innovate, adapt, and further our agenda of being the world leader. And if we're not going to be doing that, we might as well just say, hey, we're going to go back and do everything via postcard, and we don't need to send emails anymore. We don't need to do all these other stuff, and just go back to these days where no social media was a thing, and just go back. But we're not living in these times. So this is a wake-up call for all of us to kind of say, hey, nobody should have a chokehold on the economy. There always needs to be different options that you can source your products from. And the more options there are, the better it's going to be for all of us, because you can have manufacturing and you can have all these great things in the United States while we have automation. There's going to be a fine line between fully automated and still having a bunch of jobs. And what is that going to look like? Probably in the sense of where before you need to have a crane operator, a truck driver doing all this, and you're going to have people that do software. There's going to be people that do different tasks and have more tasks. Let me say it the right way. They're not going to have more tasks. What these people are going to have is different job responsibilities rather than just actually doing it. They're going to be supervising machines. And just like an assembly line, you're just going to be looking and saying, oh, number 0245 isn't doing right. Let's take that one off. And then it's going to send to the repair shop. You're still going to need a mechanic because that's not all automated yet. And we're going to start looking at stuff like this. Let me know what you think about all this, because I just see it going in that direction. And I'm just like, we got to figure out a way how we cannot have all these strikes all the time. Because somebody said, oh, UPS had the strike too. Yeah, it's because we glamorized these huge corporations that have, I've made this point before, where it's a winner take all economy. And when you're looking at it, there's not a lot of competitors in the shipping realm. There's like, if you want to ship something inside the United States, you got the Postal Service, UPS, or FedEx. That's kind of what you got. Everything else is just not reliable. So you have 3 of them. And I wish there were 4, 5, 6 of them so they compete in price. But we're not there, because you have these huge corporations, and it costs a shit ton of money to start something like that. And the more competitors there are, the better the economy is going to be, because there's options, and so they have to price compete. When there's only one person in town that offers that, they can charge what they want, because you got to ship it anyways, right? So the same thing goes when Walmart, that's the best example I see. When Walmart goes into towns and into these remote towns and opens up a Walmart supercenter, all these small mom and pop shops go out of business fairly quickly, because Walmart has everything. And then Walmart thinks, oh, in 10 years from now, it's not worth us staying in that industry, because we thought the town's going to grow and we're going to do all this other stuff, development around, and it didn't happen. And you can look this up on YouTube when Walmart closes in small towns. And then all of a sudden, nobody has the knowledge anymore to say, hey, We need to open up a mom and pop shop for supplies. We need to build other stuff around to have other alternatives than Walmart. And then they're struggling to get them up and running and trying to figure out places. So winner takes all isn't the best solution. We need to have diversification. And when we have diversification, we're going to have some people that are automated, some people that are not automated. We're going to have a right a fine line between it, because not all automation is going to be good, and it's going to take time. And that is just one view of one guy in Las Vegas that just reads the news. And I highly encourage you to look these things up and to not be so, how do I say that? To not be so eager on the keyboard and being like, you're against unions, you're against this and that. Look into it. Look into it, because it's always easy to just write something rather than just looking at it and being like, hey, let me look at what is really going on. Let me look at if this is a different view, if this is something different, and seeing if this has merit. And I challenge you to just listen and actively listen and not listen to respond. Just be like, oh, that's cool. And then just let it be. And that's what I also try to do when I hear other people's opinions, when I hear other people talk about different things. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I just let it be. And I feel like in today's world where everybody's like, I got to do this, I got to do that, and you're wrong for this view, what does it matter? It's just in the grand scheme of things, none of this really matters. We're just trying to go about our days and try to make it, and hopefully not get sick, provide for our families, have food on the table. And yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I love chatting with you guys. I love the conversations. If you want to shoot me an email, go into the about section of my profile, shoot me an email. If you want to send me an article. And I love chatting with you guys. So this was my morning walk, kind of the breath. Had my brother in town. Only been eating, probably gained about 5 pounds. I got to work these off. And I'll see you guys in the next one.